Cyclops is in the DorkLair. Welcome to another DorkLair action figure review. Today I'm taking a look at the Mezco 112 Collective Cyclops. This is a brand new addition to the Mezco X-Men lineup. So they have Wolverine, they have an X-Men version of Deadpool. Of course, they have a whole bunch of different Wolverines, a whole bunch of different like Logans, and they have an X-Force Wolverine and all that stuff. But yeah, so Cyclops is added into the mix. And I know recently they've been announcing some other ones. They've got Cable coming out soon. They've also got, just recently, really just in the last couple days, they've put the Gambit figure up for pre-order. So they're starting to build out their X-Men a little bit more. At first, I had kind of mixed feelings about this particular figure. It wasn't quite doing it for me. I felt like the increased price, and then sort of like the trade-offs for having the light-up gimmick in the face weren't worth the trade-offs, actually. And I still feel that way. But there are a lot of other things about this figure that I really like. And this figure's growing on me quite a bit since I first did the review on the podcast a couple weeks ago. So yeah, I'm liking this figure. It's not perfect. It's definitely got some issues. I don't know that I recommend it at that $100 price point, but if you can get it for a little bit cheaper, I think it's a pretty good figure. So let's get into this review. First off, we have the packaging. It's got the X-Men logo on the front, Cyclops written on top there, blue side with the X-Men logo, and then you'll notice that, like a lot of the packaging, there's some glossy parts to it with that logo there. And then on the back, you have some pictures of the character, and this is a classic Mezco big box with the slipcover that slides up in the window box, though I don't have the figure in there right now. So quality packaging, very collector-friendly stuff here. There's just a lot of packaging to it. All right, I'm going to start this review off with his jacket still on there because the fit matters. So let's start with the jacket itself. I think the jacket is one of the highlights of the figure. You know, it can be a little weird at certain parts, like it kind of has to stretch around on the back, and you know, you're going to have this part of the harness poking through on the back. But overall, the jacket looks great, and I'm definitely going to pose him with the jacket on. I really like that look with him with the jacket on there. And, you know, it's nicely detailed. It's got like a little sort of the way some jackets have that sort of stretchy wrist piece and then the piece around the waist there. The zipper is functional, but I don't know that I would ever want to have it zipped up. I will show you what it looks like in 1 second. So you can zip it up, but again, it's not a look that I really want for Cyclops. You can have it sort of half zipped like this. There is a functional zipper, so it works, you know. But generally speaking, I think I prefer to have it just on and open. I like that look quite a bit. And I do think that the jacket is one of the highlights of the figure, whereas it does have a few issues. The jacket is not one of them, in my opinion. Okay, so the look of the head, it's definitely got like a bit of a glossy thing going on there. It's not really like a painted face. It just seems to be sculpted in that fleshy plastic. And I'm not sure what they were going for there. If they were trying to get it so that when you turn the light on, it sort of makes his face glow a little bit. It's kind of weird. I don't know if that's on purpose. But the hair sculpt is really nice. The sculpting and everything on the head is great, in my opinion. But I just don't love the finish on the face. His lips can look really dark in certain angles and certain lighting, and I just don't love the shine. I'd like to maybe, if I'm brave enough, maybe try painting the face so that it's actually painted and not just sort of plasticky looking like that. But generally, the sculpt and everything looks great, and you can see the neck is a little bit sculpted there. You're definitely going to see some of the neck mechanism coming up through there, and I guess I'll show you that right now because I can show you the light up effect. So the light up effect is in his neck. You just take the head off like this, and then you can see the top of the neck peg is just this. It's the light. It's the little LED light inside the ball peg. And then you just twist this little, like maybe not even 1/8 of a turn, and then pull it up right here, and there's a switch underneath. Switch it on, and that's on right there. Pop it back in. And then the LED is on, and you can pop his head right back on. And you can see his visor is now glowing. Let me see if I can turn the light off just to give you a little more to it there. The glow is decent, but in my opinion, because it completely eliminates any lower neck articulation and really hinders the upper neck articulation, I don't think it's worth the trade-off. And it seems to be the thing that kind of pushed this figure up into a $100 price point rather than an $80 price point like a lot of the other figures, or maybe $85 even. But yeah, so it is what it is. It's just really, I don't think it was worth it. And it really kind of turned me off of the figure at first. And if you were to listen to the DorkLair podcast, I think it's episode 109, you would probably hear me a little more down on the figure than I am today after having played with it for about a week or two. I'm liking this figure a lot more, even though it does have that kind of negative hit on the quality of the overall figure. And then moving into sort of the other parts of the figure, the harness and the suit, in my opinion, look fantastic. I love the colors. I love the yellow. I love how the yellow has all these little sculpted details, and then those are sort of painted in there with a darker, like a black color. And then that kind of contrasts with the blue of the suit, which has some plastic overlays on top of just like sort of your usual spandex kind of material. So generally speaking, the overall look is awesome. You have the X on the belt and on the harness, and those are sculpted in. This one seems to be just painted, whereas this one seems to be sort of sculpted. You got little pouches on the belt, lots of great details. I like how the darker lines have a little bit of a different color than the rest. It's just like this darker kind of thing. It's not just blue over blue. So that gives it some pretty cool contrast and look to it. And then, you know, the pleather does not necessarily go behind the knees or in the elbows. And so you don't have to worry too much about it crinkling up, except maybe up in the thighs up here. And these pieces are like glued on somewhere. I think maybe in the front, these little thigh straps right there. And then the boots look great too. I love the details on these boots. I love the color. I love the yellow. I love that you've got some shiny, some matte. Same thing with the hands. He's got X's on his gloves, and you can see like those X's are a little bit of a different color, a little different finish than the rest of the hand. So really cool look there. Overall, the figure looks great, and this is one of those figures that does not photograph well because of the flesh tone and because the light up feature doesn't photograph well. But in hand and on the shelf, it looks great, and I don't mind that stuff as much in hand. But I do take a lot of photos, so I tend to like my figures to be a little bit more photogenic than this guy is. All right, so getting a look at Mr. Summers next to a few other figures to see how they scale. I think he looks great next to Logan, which is the only Wolverine I currently have. But I love this figure. I just got it. I got it on a really good deal. You can find this figure for cheap right now. Really great figure for the price going right now. And quite frankly, it's just an awesome figure. Really cool one. And then some other figures, I don't have any other X-Men, but I do have a Spider-Man here, so a classic look Spider-Man. And then this is the Stealth Iron Man with the old boy Tony Stark head on there. It's a great figure. Another really good bargain that people can find for super cheap right now. I highly recommend picking that up as well. And then just a couple Marvel Legends figures. I don't collect X-Men per se, though I do want to start a little bit of an X-Men collection. But here is a Marvel Legends Thor and then a Marvel Legends Iron Man, just so you can get a sense of how he scales with Marvel Legends line in general. For accessories, he comes with this second head sculpt. This is Screaming Head, and it kind of suffers from the same issue where the flesh is very shiny. But other than that, I much prefer this head sculpt. I like the action shot of the head. Hair looks great. Pretty much the same, except that it's a Screaming Head. And, you know, I just like having an option to have more of an action pose or an angry or a intensity kind of thing going on there. So pretty cool second head sculpt. He comes with 3 of these visors, so you can have 1 on each head, and then you get an extra one of just like the standard visor. He comes with 2 of these smoldering visors, and so there, you can have 1 on each head, I guess, or just there's an extra one. And then the visors, they just pop right off super easily, and you can pop the next one right back on, and he comes with like this kind of straight beam right here. It's nicely detailed. It's got these like lines through it, and then you can see a little bit of the, the chaotic kind of blast as it's coming out at the source right there. And finally, he's got this massive, explosive sort of beam coming out here. And this thing is huge. Look at the size of this thing. I love it. So cool. So just intense. He just like lost complete control of it and it's just like ripping through. So that's pretty awesome. That piece is really nice. There's not a lot of like color differentiation. It does seem a little lighter up top here, but that might just be because there's more plastic up there. But yeah, so that's a pretty cool piece. And I guess the fact that there's not a lot of neck movement means that it's not going to just fall forward, because this thing is pretty heavy. So, you know, I'm holding him by his feet right now. Like he can hold that thing up pretty well. And I think that's due to the fact that his neck won't bend any more forward than that. Like if I pull it up, it's going to come back down. So it's a pretty heavy piece. And he comes with a pair of fists already on there. He's got a pair of action sort of gesturing hands. They're both slightly different in the way they're sort of sculpted and arranged. And he's got two sort of other gesturing hands. This one is like a 2-finger kind of pointing hand that you can use to make it look like he's activating his visor. And then you've just got this flat hand. He could be saluting or sort of like pointing with it, or maybe activating the visor on this side as well, but just sort of a flat hand right here. And as I showed before, he does come with that jacket. And he's got the usual 5-inch Mezco stand with the flight arm as well. For articulation, like I said before, the head is just incredibly limited. It can look up this high, and then it can look down that much. It doesn't even look down, really. It just looks up that much and then down. It can rock side to side a little bit, and it can obviously spin as well. But it's so limited by the fact that there's this mechanism in the neck. And quite frankly, I don't think it's worth the sacrificed articulation for it. And I'm assuming that Cable is going to kind of have the same limitation there, because his head also lights up. They're probably going to use the same technology for that. But other than that, I think the articulation is pretty good. So his arm can rotate up this far, and it can swing around. And he's got a bicep swivel here. His elbows are double jointed. He can come up this far with the elbow. And then his wrists are on a swivel and ball. So those can get a lot of motion out of the hands. Really nice. Up in the upper chest, he can crunch forward and back and side to side. So he can kind of roll around like this. I can show you how far forward. He can crunch forward this far and then back that far. And that's actually including the waist too. So the waist, there is a swivel in the waist, and it's on a ball. So he can roll around on that waist as well. So pretty good crunch. If I get him all the way crunched forward, it's that far. So not bad. His legs can be a little bit hindered by the thickness of the suit up here, but he can kick forward quite a bit, and he can kick back just a little bit here. You can go to the splits this far. I don't want to get too much further out because I don't want to split that seam there in the crotch. He doesn't have any of the saggy crotch issues or any weird fit of the suit. The suit fits awesome. Like everything kind of stays in place really well as you move him around. He's got a swivel at the upper thigh, and then he's got double jointed knees, and he can kick up this far. There's no swivel at the knee per se, but there is a little bit at the boot, and I probably could get it going a little bit more if I mess around with it, but there's a little bit there. And then his foot can point down this far, and it can point back up a little bit. It can rock side to side, pretty good rocker for a Mezco, and it can spin around. So the articulation is pretty good on him. It's just that I guess I have like a little complex. Like anytime a figure doesn't have that articulation at the base of the neck, I find it very difficult to get them in expressive poses. Poses that seem natural, that seem interesting, that seem kind of action-based. But other than that, like he can get into some pretty cool poses. And other than that kind of limitation, I think he poses well. He's definitely growing on me. I was able to find it for less than retail. I think I got mine for $72. At that price point, absolutely. I think it's a great figure for that price point. But for $100, I just feel like it's limited in what it can do based on what you get for that extra money, which is the light up effect. It's not super bright. It's not terribly dramatic, and it just hinders the articulation quite a bit. So I'm a little let down by that part of it in terms of the price and the value. But I mean, he does look pretty awesome. Like, look at that. That's pretty sweet. And he looks great next to Wolverine. And I just kind of, I'm starting to think I'm going to build up a little bit of an X-Men. I'm not like a massive X-Men fan or anything, but you know, I did love all those movies. I have read some of the comics, and especially like crossovers that involve the X-Men and stuff. So yeah, I'm going to build up a little bit. I do want Cable. I just want Cable because that figure looks awesome. I don't even really care about the character, but I do love the standard Cable. It just looks like an awesome sort of sci-fi warrior type guy. So yeah, I'm gonna get cable, I think, at some point. Probably if I can find a deal. It's not one I pre-ordered, so hopefully I'll find a cable for a good price. But generally speaking, I'm digging the Cyclops. I do recommend it. I'm not sure I recommend it at 100, but I think you can find it for less than 100. So I don't think it would be a terrible purchase if you got it for under 100, maybe 90, maybe 80, somewhere in there. Good price for Cyclops. Thanks for watching my video. Be sure to check out my other videos, like my walkthrough from New York Comic Con of the Mezco booth. They had an awesome setup. Not a lot of new figures, but they had a really great setup over there. So be sure to check out that video. And until next time, may the force be with you.